You don't actually enjoy waiting in line and taking off your shoes like some sort of masochist, do you? Well, do you? Well, I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way, and you can even get this magical pass for free. Yes, free. I'll be splitting this video into 4 sections. I'll be teaching you the entire process of how to apply for TSA PreCheck and what to expect during the interview, how to apply for global entry and what to expect during that interview, how to properly use these benefits, and how to get the fees fully paid for. I'll also be leaving chapters in this video, so click around to the section that is most relevant to you. First, what are you even gonna get if you sign up for TSA PreCheck and or global entry? Well, when traveling by plane, you don't have to take off your shoes, belt, or light jacket. If it's a heavy jacket, they will most likely ask you to remove that. And you can also keep large electronics like laptops in your bag. And for your liquid bag, you also don't have to take that out of your bag. So basically, if you don't wear a heavy jacket, you can just set your stuff down on the conveyor belt and walk on through. Oh, also I forgot to mention, TSA PreCheck and normal TSA lines are separate lines, which means most of the time the lines for TSA PreCheck are shorter. Not only because of the less time and effort, but also many people don't take advantage of getting TSA PreCheck or global entry. Oh, also by the way, if you decide to sign up for global entry, you would also be eligible for TSA PreCheck benefits too, but with the extra added benefit of being able to pass through screenings quicker when you come back into the United States from an international trip. That sounds like a dream, but how do you sign up for TSA PreCheck or global entry? First, go over to Homeland Security's Trusted Travelers website, which is ttp.dhs.gov, or link in the description. First, we'll go over the application process and what to expect for TSA PreCheck first, which in general is the simpler one of the 2 options. There isn't as many questions and is more of a painless process. You can even get TSA PreCheck done at Staples. So after you get to the website, just click on Get Started under TSA PreCheck. It will take you to tsa.gov. Then click on Apply Now, and a form for TSA PreCheck will appear. Just fill that out. Type in your full legal name, choose which gender you are, date of birth, your email. You can type in your phone number, but you don't have to. And then select your preferred method of contact, then click Next. Select which country you were born in, type in the city of your birthplace. Then select the state or province of your birthplace, and which citizenship you have, and then click Next. Then on the next page, there'll be 4 questions. Just choose yes or no, then click Next. Then you'll be asked about your physical appearance. Select and type in the best options that most represent you, then click Next. Then just fill in your address. When you're finished, click Next. After that, you'll be asked to answer eligibility questions. And as a note, on the top it says if you answer yes to questions 2, 3, 4, or 6, you may want to reconsider applying. If you answer yes to question 5 because you are currently under indictment or have open criminal charges, you should consider waiting to apply until these matters are resolved. Application enrollment fees are not refunded once submitted. So if these apply to you, you might not want to apply unless you get the fees reimbursed anyways. Might as well try. After you're finished with the questions, just click Next, and now you'll want to get the required documents. These are the documents you are also going to bring to the enrollment center. Also for the documents you bring, they all have to have matching names. So the same first, middle, and last name that you use to fill out this application for TSA PreCheck. The middle name can be just an initial as long as the first and last name match. And if the last names don't match on your documents because one of them is your married name and one is your maiden name, then just bring your marriage certificate. First on the form, they'll ask you which photo ID you are planning on bringing. Just select one from the list. Then, depending on which option you choose, another box will appear that will ask for which citizenship or immigration document you are going to bring. For whichever documents you choose, bring both of them to the enrollment center. Unless you choose something like your passport to use as your photo ID, then you just have to bring your passport. There will be a green box that will tell you exactly what to bring. Then answer the question using yes or no if all the names match on these documents, and click Next. The next section will just be choosing the location you want for the physical part of the enrollment. You can either search for enrollment center or you can just type in the zip code you are willing to travel to sign up for TSA PreCheck. Just click on the location that you are wanting to go to, scroll down, and click Next. At this point, you can either make an appointment or you can just do a walk-in. I recommend grabbing an appointment just so you aren't waiting too long and you know when to show up. And that's about it for the online enrollment for TSA PreCheck. I didn't personally sign up for TSA PreCheck, however my mom did, and I helped her through that. So what happened was I urged her to sign up for TSA PreCheck since I got it for free. But she didn't want to go through the process alone, she's a bit shy. And since she was planning a trip to come visit me in a few weeks, I signed her up online, and the online form process was exactly how I described it earlier. Easy. However, I didn't want to schedule her an appointment because we selected the airport she was arriving in, and I was worried that her flight might be delayed or something. And at the time, we saw there was a bunch of appointment slots and we didn't mind waiting if we had to wait. Oh yeah, by the way, you don't have to enroll at a center near your residential address. Just any TSA PreCheck enrollment site works. Just select the site before your visit. So before my mom flew, she made sure she had all of her documents, which was her passport, but just to make sure, she also brought her driver's license, birth certificate, and marriage certificate, just in case. When she landed, her flight was a little bit early, so we walked around the airport until we found the enrollment center. When we did find the enrollment center, it was 8:10. The TSA PreCheck Enrollment Center was supposed to open at 8, so the person working that day was a little bit late, but we didn't mind, we didn't have anywhere to be. However, other people started showing up, and they had appointments. It wasn't until about 8:30 someone showed up to open the door. At this point, there were 3 people in front of my mom. The people who made appointments went before my mom, and then my mom was signed in after them, but before the other appointments after 8:30 a.m. The whole process took about 30 minutes, with 25 of those minutes were spent waiting for the people with appointments to get finished. The actual process only took my mom 5 minutes, and they didn't really ask her anything. My mom handed over her passport, they scanned her passport, took her fingerprints, and then took her picture. Then they asked her how she wanted to pay for the fee. And of course she used the credit card I handed her so she could get the fees fully covered for, which was the American Express Platinum Gold card. Not the American Express Gold card, the Platinum Gold. American Express really has to change that name. And that was basically her experience at the enrollment center for TSA PreCheck. It will probably be like this for you too if you decide to sign up for TSA PreCheck, but that isn't guaranteed, could be different. But now for global entry, which is what my wife and I signed up for, because the fees were also fully covered the same as TSA PreCheck. However, we also want to get the extra benefits of the quick and easy entry back into the United States. However, the reason I didn't sign up my mom for global entry is because it's more of an intense process. You have to give over a lot more information and have to know what you're doing, because you aren't talking to some random employee. For global entry, the people interviewing you are US Customs and Border Control officers. And at least from my experience, the officers weren't wearing polo shirts and slacks. They were in full tactical gear. But if those things don't bother you, then I highly recommend signing up for global entry because it's only $15 more than TSA PreCheck. And you can get the whole fee covered the same as TSA PreCheck using select credit cards. And here's how to get started. Go over to Homeland Security's Trusted Travelers Program website, which is ttp.dhs.gov, or link in the description. Then when you get directed to the site, to the right of TSA PreCheck will be Global Entry. Just click on Get Started under the Global Entry column. Then a pop-up box will appear. Just click on Continue with your Global Entry application. Then click Consent and Continue. Like I said, this process is a little bit more intense. Now you'll be directed to the federal government's website. If you already have an account because you applied for federal positions, then you can use your same login. But if you don't already have an account, just click on Create an Account under the Sign In button. Enter the email you want to associate with your account. Then click that you've read and accept login.gov's rules of use. If you don't click on the box, then you can't move forward. After you're done with that, just click on Submit. You'll get an email from login.gov. On that email, just click on Confirm Email Address. Then you'll be redirected back to the login.gov's website. Just choose what password you want and click Continue. Then you'll be asked to choose a way to add a second layer of security. Select the best method for you and click Continue. Then just follow the instructions of which method you've chosen. Then go back to the Global Entry login and use your email and password to log in. After you log in, you will be redirected to the form. Just fill that out. Your last name, first name, and middle name, date of birth, country of birth, state or province of birth, city of birth. Use another email if you want to, but it will automatically populate with your sign up email. Choose your phone type, the area code, and type in your phone number and extension if you have an extension. After that, the form will ask if you ever applied for other programs, but we're gonna assume you haven't and this is your first time. And after you're finished, click on Save. Then a pop-up confirmation will appear. Check it over and click on Confirm. Then a summary of the next steps will appear. Read it over if you want, or just click on Continue. Then scroll down to Identifying Characteristics. Select your gender, choose your eye color, type in your height, and have you used any other names before? Choose yes or no. Now just click on Save and Continue. Now you have to provide some documents, specifically your citizenship documents. For US citizenship, you just need your passport for this section. Select passport, then a sample passport will appear. Enter all the information the form is asking for, exactly how it looks on your passport. Your last name, your first name, middle name, date of birth. Select the country you got your passport from, I'm assuming the United States. Then type in your passport number. It should be on the upper right hand side, and double check you entered the numbers correctly. Then select the date of issue, it should be above the expiration date, and then enter the expiration date, then scroll down. The next section wants proof you can enter into the United States. This should also be your passport information, and it should be already filled out with the information you provided above. but always double check if the information matches your passport. Then click save and continue. Next, you'll be asked if you have a driver's license. If you don't have a driver's license, just click on no and click save and continue. If you do have a driver's license, click on yes and a form will appear. Enter your driver's license number, the country of where you got the driver's license, type in the state the driver's license is from, and the expiration date of the driver's license. And then your last name, first name, middle name, and date of birth, exactly how it appears on your driver's license. And then click on save and continue. The next form is basically if you're going to cross back from Mexico's border using your car or any type of vehicle. If no, just click on no and click on save and continue. If yes, click on yes, then it will ask you if your vehicle has already been registered to someone else's account, for example like a spouse or a parent. If no, click on no. Then go ahead and click on yes to register the vehicle so you don't have to pay any fees later down the road. Click add vehicle, then enter all the information about the vehicle, the make, model, year, and color. Then the VIN, license plate number, which country you got the plates from, and type in the state where you got the license plate from. Then select whoever owns the vehicle. You'll have three options. You can select you, another person, or a business. If the vehicle belongs to someone else or a business, just type in the needed information on either form. Then click save and continue. On this part, you'll have to enter your current address as well as the past addresses for the last 5 years. If you lived at only one address in the last 5 years, you just have to enter your current address. Make sure for the current address you bring in proof that you live there, like a driver's license or utility bill. For each address entry, you'll have to enter when you started living there and when you moved, unless it's the current address. Then select which country that address is in, then enter the address in each box. One address per box. Don't try to cram all the addresses into one box like some sort of psycho. If you need more address boxes, click on add previous address and another box should appear. Then on the bottom, there will be a question whether your mailing address and your current address are the same. Select yes and click save and continue. But if they aren't the same, click no and enter the address where you receive your mail as your mailing address, and then click save and continue. Sometimes if the website thinks there's a better way to express your address, it will ask you to confirm the changes the website makes. Just do a quick check and click confirm. Next will be the employment information. This will also go back 5 years. So if you only worked at one place in the last 5 years, you only have to enter one box. But if you worked at multiple different places, add as many boxes as you need until you get to at least the last 5 years. In these boxes, they'll ask what is your employment status. If you are employed, enter when you started, what you do, and who hired you. Then what is the employer's phone number and address. If you're self-employed, you'll have to enter the same information as the employed section. But enter your company name. If you don't have one, then type in self. And just fill out the rest of the information with your information or your company's information. If you're retired, just select when you started your retirement. For unemployed, also select when that started. If you're a student, select when you started school. Remember, you just have to enter the last 5 years. If you recently started as a student and haven't had any jobs before being a student, then for the rest of the years, select unemployed. You can select unemployed since you were born if that's the case, but they just need the last 5 years. And click save and continue. Now this section will be about your travel history in the last 5 years. They want to know if you traveled anywhere outside the United States, Canada, or Mexico in the last 5 years. If no, just click on no and click on save and continue. If yes, click on yes and then select which countries you've been to in the last 5 years. Use the text box filter to find countries easier, or you can just scroll down the list if that's what you're into. After you're done, just click on save and continue. Now they'll just ask you some background questions. First question is whether or not you've been convicted of a criminal offense anywhere in the world. However, traffic violations don't count, so that one time you sped 5 miles an hour over the speed limit and the cop was having a bad day, yeah, that doesn't count, you naughty criminal you. So you don't have any offenses, click on no and a box will appear. The box is asking if you ever been arrested or had charges expunged or removed. If you had, type in what happened into the box. If no, just move on to the next question. But if you do have a criminal offense, click on yes and a box will appear. Select the country the criminal offense happened in and type into the box what happened. After you're finished, move on to the next question, which is have you received a waiver of inadmissibility to the United States from a US government agency? I'm assuming you would know if you got this, but if you don't know, the waiver of inadmissibility means you asked the United States government to overlook or forgive something that wasn't allowed or tolerated, like criminal activity, national security, fraud, and other stuff like that, and was granted a green card or other benefits. If yes, type in the details. If no, click on no and move on to the next question, which is have you ever been in violation of custom laws? For example, like bringing in something you weren't supposed to or not declaring something and they stopped you for it. If yes, type in the details what happened. If no, click on no and move on to the next question. The final question asks whether or not you have been found in violation of immigration laws, like document problems and refusal into the United States. If yes, provide the details. If no, click on no and click on save and continue. For most of you, all these answers should be no. If you have a lot of yeses for the background questions, you most likely won't be approved. But you do get approved, bring all your documents relating to the details in the background questions. Of course, you can still apply for global entry, but just know the application fee is not refundable and you have to pay the application before approval. So no matter the outcome, you have to pay for the application fee, unless you listen to my advice on how to get these application fees easily reimbursed. This final section is just asking you to review all the information you typed in, because after you click submit, you cannot edit your application by yourself again. Only the enrollment officers can make changes. And these check marks on the right side that says no errors found, those are just basic check marks, just double check anyway. But if there is an error, just go ahead and fix it. And for each box, you can expand the information by clicking on the arrow on the left, or go to the top of the page and click on expand all. After you checked everything and made sure everything is correct, click on save and continue, and you'll be redirected to the payment page, and you'll be asked to pay for the $100 application fee. Now this is where you want to enter the information from the credit card that will give you the reimbursement. In here later, I'll be showing you the top 5 credit cards in my opinion that will fully reimburse the global entry or TSA PreCheck charges. But before we get into that, I'll tell you what to expect after you pay for your global entry application. You'll be redirected to the dashboard. If not, just click on my dashboard up towards the top, and towards the middle of the page should show your approval status. It'll take a couple of days, sometimes weeks, before you are approved or denied. For me, it only took 3 days to be conditionally approved. When you are approved, you'll have to schedule an interview. All you have to do is click on schedule an interview. Towards the top, you can filter by soonest available appointments, or you can choose a specific date by selecting on. But if you just want a date before a certain time, then select by and type in what date you need. Then on the right side, select how many appointments you need. For example, if you are a family of 4, you'll need 4. If you're a couple, then you'll need 2 appointments. Then click apply. But if you need a specific location, like for example, only in the New York area, then just scroll down to the state you are wanting to do the interview at. Then select which location within that state you are wanting. If you select a location and there are no available appointments, you could always check back in every so often to see if there's any openings. They pop up at random sometimes. But if you don't care going to a different enrollment center and there are available appointments, click on choose this location. Then choose the date that is open and works for you. Click on that date. Then click on choose this date. Then choose the available times that works for you. And then click on done. If the available dates don't work for you, you'll just have to find another location. Or you can do a walk-in, but there's no guarantee that you'll be seen or won't be seen immediately. But if you do decide to do a walk-in, I read online that airport locations typically see fewer people, so maybe try your luck there. Or you can do enrollment on arrival. So personally, I can't recommend this method because I never done it before. However, if you want to go through with it, enrollment on arrival is for people who have been conditionally approved, travel outside of the United States, and is returning, and is landing at these airports, link in the description, that have the enrollment on arrival program. So basically, it's a walk-in. When you arrive at the airport, there should be signs to show you where the enrollment on arrival areas are. But like I said, I don't have personal experience with this, so I can't personally recommend this. But if this works for you in your schedule, great. Remember, if you need a specific date, you can just use the filter tool. After you're done with scheduling, just get prepared for your interview. You'll need the documents that you provided during the application process, like a valid passport, and if you use multiple passports, bring them so they can register them. When you use the global entry kiosks, a driver's license or utility bills with your name on it, unless you're under 18. Minors don't need to provide proof of address, but just double check the documents you used for the application for global entry. To do this, go to the dashboard and click on interview confirmation, and it should tell you what you need to bring. And when you are conditionally approved, you'll get a conditionally approved letter. Print that out and bring it to your interview. Or you can just write down your membership number or pass ID. That's what I did since I don't have a printer. Now, what does the interview process look like? It's actually pretty simple. A little bit intimidating because you got officers with full gear and a shotgun on them, but you don't do anything stupid, it's not a big deal. It's actually a very short process. By the time you are conditionally approved, you have already been pre-screened. The interview is more or less a formality to see if you're telling the truth. They'll have you scheduled for a 30-minute interview, but honestly, it only took 10 minutes for both me and my wife. However, we did stay the full 30 minutes because the officer that interviewed us wanted to rant about Florida man compilations that he saw on YouTube and rant about how much he hated Ohio. But let me start from the beginning of our global entry interview experience so you kinda have an idea what to expect. So first, for my interview, we scheduled at an international airport. The interview site was near the arrival section of the airport on the bottom floor. We arrived about an hour early. My wife and I walked around the airport since we don't go to the international airport that often. And airplanes are just so cool. I could watch them for hours. But when it came close to our interview, about 15 minutes before, we headed back down to the Customs and Border Control office area. There was no front desk or anything. There was just a phone and a sign that was next to the phone that said to pick up the phone to call back into the Customs and Border Control office. I picked it up and it rang for a bit, then someone on the other end answered and said, "How can I help you?" I just told them that we had a global entry interview at 12:30. They told me to have a seat in the waiting area, which was near the phone and was just a row of black leather chairs. They also asked how many interviews do I have. I told them 2. And then they asked if we're okay doing our interviews together. And I said that would be great. So then I put the phone back and we went over to the waiting area. We waited maybe 5 minutes and someone from the Customs and Border Control office came out and asked for our passports, driver's license, and any other documents we brought for our global entry interview. We gave the documents to them and then they told us to wait. They were still in the middle of an interview and that they would be back out shortly to grab us. At this point, we were a bit nervous for our interview. We didn't know what to expect. The hallways were dimly lit just like any other government building. The Customs and Border Control officers were dressed up in full-out riot gear, including a semi-automatic handgun, with some officers walking back and forth from the office with fully loaded shotguns. But finally, it was our turn. 12:30, right on the dot. An officer asked us to follow them, and they guided us behind the thick Customs and Border Control door. Then we immediately turned right into, and to be completely honest with you, a ran down teacher's break room. There were 4 long desks with pretty old window computers and just a scattered mess of papers everywhere. There was randomly a red microwave on the back wall, which was crooked and uneven because it was sitting on top of a stack of papers. There were also motivation posters all over the walls, like the "Hang in there, cat" poster. Nothing like what I was expecting for a global entry interview. I was really expecting the police interviewing rooms, where the brightest light in the room is the lamp closest to the officer, a square wooden table in the center of the room, and a one-sided glass wall where people on the other side would be judging us during the interview. But it was none of that. The person doing our interview waved us over and asked us which one of us wanted to go first. I volunteered to go first. Then he told me to pull up a chair, which was one of those chairs you would see your dentist rolling around in. You know, the circle tops with no backs kind of chairs. Then he began the conversation saying, "You know those days you were just so tired and sleepy?" Then he pretended to sleep. At this point, I'm just so confused. I was really expecting something else, but it was really a chill interview. He told me he had my file all pulled up and asked what my name was, birthday, address, and the reason why I wanted to apply for the global entry program. I just told him I wanted to apply for global entry because I wanted to travel internationally more in the future. Then he told me the next process. And normally this isn't standard procedure, but he told me he was going to take my photo and fingerprints first. So the fingerprint machine is exactly the same as the clear fingerprint machines. You know, it's a metallic pad with a raised bar, and all it does is digitally take your fingerprints. So no black ink needed. He took fingerprints of my thumbs and then my other 4 fingers from each hand. During the whole process, my interviewing officer was yawning the whole time. It wasn't like rude yawns, but it was more like silly yawns. I thought it was funny. After we finished the fingerprints for both hands, he raised the webcam and told me to smile. He's taking my picture now for identification and for the ID. And then came the real questioning. It's all basic stuff, answers you should naturally know and can answer. First few questions were, who is your employer? What do you do? Have you ever been arrested? Have you ever had an issue with Customs or Border Patrol? Just tell the truth and make sure all the information matches your application. And if you know the information doesn't match, just let the officer know and they'll change it. Or in my wife's case, the officer just went like, meh, because my wife switched jobs. So the application was different during the interview, but the officer didn't really care about that. I think they only really care if you admit to criminal charges that wasn't picked up on your background check and didn't declare it on your application. Then some of the other questions he asked me were confirming some of the countries I visited marked on my passport and why I traveled there, whether it was for business or leisure. He really dove deeper on countries that weren't as favorable as tourist destinations or not a country as friendly towards America like Russia. And last couple of questions I remember him asking me was, did I ever get arrested but had the charges dropped? And have I traveled to a restricted country but had legal reason to be there? Remember, if you are conditionally approved for the interview process and had criminal charges dropped or traveled to a restricted country but had legal reasons to be there, bring your paperwork. At least that's advice I picked up reading some articles on the internet. I don't personally know if that's true, but it's better to overbring stuff than to underbring stuff and not have it. After I was done, I sat at another desk and basically traded places with my wife. And then my wife went through the same process. After we were both done with our interviews, he told us congratulations and that we were both approved for the Global Entry program. He told us how to sort of use the Global Entry kiosk when entering back into the United States in drama club form. They didn't have a demo machine nearby, so our officer just acted it out. He told us they are in the process of transitioning to face scans, so all you have to do is scan your face, a ticket will print out, and you give it to the officer and you should be good. But if you go to a location without the face scan, then you'll have to scan your fingerprints on the machine, and the same paper will print out and you hand it to the officer. If you are crossing land borders like Canada or Mexico, you'll be getting an ID card in the mail. Just show the border crossing your Global Entry ID card, and that's basically the only good the ID card would do you. For the Global Entry kiosks at airports, they don't need your Global Entry ID. Then he told us Global Entry will expire the 5th year of your birthday. So technically we got an extra year because we applied for Global Entry just a little bit after our birthdays. And then he told us to apply for renewals before Global Entry expires. I asked my friend if his Global Entry process was about the same, and he said yeah, excluding the Florida memes and Ohio commentary, which I'll tell you in a bit. My friend told me his process for Global Entry was that they sat his whole family of 4 together in a room. They went one by one asking the basic questions: work life, have you done anything illegal, confirm your identity, then took their fingerprints and picture. And his family was actually shown how to use the machine using a demo machine. However, one thing he noted was the officer in his interview asked more questions and was stricter on his parents that weren't born in America. So if that's the case for you, just be prepared to sit longer and be questioned more. Okay, now that we've gone over all the important stuff, let me tell you how my Customs and Border Control officer went into a rant about Ohio and Florida man. Let me remind you, this guy was in full tactical gear, pistol, bulletproof vest and all. While he was checking over my passport, he noticed that I was from the Ohio area and told me congrats on leaving. I was like, what are you talking about? Because there was no context from my point of view. It seemed like a random statement to me. He said, you're from Ohio, right? Well, I was from there too. There's nothing over there. Then he went on a rant about random things he hated about Ohio, like how most of the state is just crop fields, small hick towns, the arm spelling, and saying OH to someone and someone else responding back IO. Ohio isn't personally my favorite place to be, but I am prideful I grew up in Ohio. But this guy was having none of it. Even complained about Ohio's Buckeye candy, feeding children candy that looks like a poisonous nut. Eventually he got onto a rant about Thrasher's or Thresher's buffet or something like that. Then he asked me if I ever saw the video of the 2 homeless or drugged out people fighting over a chicken tender at the same buffet chain but in Florida. I told him I've never heard of that buffet chain. Then he made a side comment about how old he was and started up on his story about the chicken tender incident in Florida. So from my understanding from what he was telling me and my wife, there were 2 guys, they looked a little bit crazy. They were at a buffet fighting over the last chicken tender. The police even got called in and got involved with the incident to split the 2 people up. Then my interviewing officer laughed and asked me, when you go to a buffet, what happens? They fill the trays back up and they're over here fighting over a chicken tender. Gotta be strong drugs, whatever they're on. Then he went on saying he loves to watch Florida man videos on YouTube. He could do it all day if you would let him. And let me remind you, me and my wife were interviewing for Global Entry the whole time he was telling stories and complaints. So yeah, he basically throughout our interview spent 20 minutes complaining about Ohio and Florida man. My wife and I didn't personally mind it. It made the experience more relaxed and chill. And some stuff he was telling us about was entertaining. Of course, like I said though, don't expect this for your interview, because my friend's interview was way more serious. Just continuous questioning back to back and get out type of vibe. But back to the serious part of the video. So I taught you to use the Global Entry benefit when entering back into the country. You just have to go up to the kiosk. There should be Global Entry signs to point you in the right direction when you return. Do your fingerprints or face scan and bring the printed ticket to the officer, and that's it. But now I'll teach you how to use the TSA PreCheck benefits. That should also be an available benefit on the Global Entry membership. So for both Global Entry and TSA PreCheck, you'll get a confirmation email saying that you have been approved for the program. On those emails, find the phrase known traveler number or pass ID. If you can't find it, log into the Homeland Security's website where you apply for Global Entry, or for TSA PreCheck, go to this website, link in the description, and log into your account or type in the needed information. And when you got that number, log into your airline account, go to profile, and find the area where it asks you to type in your known traveler number or pass number ID. This is what it looks like for Delta, this is what it looks like for United, and this is what it looks like for American. Type in or copy exactly or it won't work. Also, your airline account and your Global Entry or TSA PreCheck membership names must match. First, middle initial, and last name must all be the same. After you're done with that, from now on, when you go to check in for your flight and show or print your ticket, there should be a little green check mark and or TSA PreCheck on your ticket. If everything successfully works, then you can skip the regular lines and use the TSA PreCheck lines. The benefits of TSA PreCheck is you don't have to take your shoes off, belts, your liquid bag, and many normal things you would have to do in the regular TSA line, thereby making the line faster. Also, the detector machine is less invasive. I know a couple years ago, I'm not sure what they are like now. The normal TSA lines with the 3D body scans were showing people's private areas. I know they fixed it because the TSA agents were basically barfing left and right, but still, the scanners now are still more troublesome in the TSA lines. Versus the TSA PreCheck line looks to have a regular detector you just have to walk through. It looks similar to government building detectors or detectors you would see at Walmart. Overall, my TSA PreCheck experience have honestly been life-changing. I can show up to the airport last minute and still make my flights. I can breeze through the line. I don't have to put on easy to take off shoes if I don't want to. And the agents on the TSA PreCheck side are just nicer in my opinion. And that's about it. Now I did say something about getting these for free, and you would be correct. Through some credit cards, they will fully reimburse the fees for TSA PreCheck and Global Entry. And I think they do this so you'll feel more happy about traveling and thereby spend more money using their credit cards. But here are my top 5 personal recommendations for credit cards that will cover the fees for TSA PreCheck or Global Entry. Starting with the cheapest option, the Arvis Visa Signature Card. This card has no annual fees, no foreign transaction fees so you can use it anywhere in the world that accepts Visa, and not be charged a fee which is usually 3%. You'll get 1.5 times back per dollar spent on this card. And of course, TSA PreCheck or Global Entry reimbursement of up to $100, which would cover either Global Entry or TSA PreCheck. The only downside to this card is there isn't as many benefits compared to the other cards on this list, and it is a Visa signature card. Therefore, the lowest credit limit is $5,000. So make sure you can get approved for a credit limit of $5,000 before you apply for this card, or you'll just waste a hard inquiry. But this card is the only card that will cover both Global Entry or TSA PreCheck entirely without any annual fees. The second credit card I would recommend is the United Explorer card, because even though it has an annual fee of $95, during the first year you won't be charged the annual fee. So if you wanted to, you could apply for TSA PreCheck or Global Entry. Then after the first year passes, when you get the annual fee posted to your credit card account, you can just cancel the card and don't have to pay anything, thereby making it free. But if you did want to keep this card, I think it is well worth the $95 fee. First, when you fly United, you'll get your first checked bag for free, thereby saving $35 per way. So could be $70 worth of savings by holding this card. You'll get priority boarding on United flights, 25% back as a statement credit on purchases of food and drinks and Wi-Fi on United flights when you use this card. Also, you'll get 2 passes per year to use at United airport lounges. So that could save you a meal cost, maybe about $30, because the lounge will provide food and drinks. Plus, you'll have somewhere to relax before your flight. You'll also earn 2 miles on each dollar spent on United charges like tickets, food, and drinks on a United flight, any type of dining including delivery and hotels, and 1 mile back on any other kind of spend. So definitely not a bad card to have. Just remember, this is a Visa signature card, so it has to have a minimum of a $5,000 credit limit. The third choice I would choose in my opinion is the IHG credit card. This credit card has a cheaper fee of $89, however the first year is not free. But many credit card enthusiasts would still apply and hold on to this card even without the TSA PreCheck or Global Entry benefit. And the main reason is because every year you hold this card, you'll get a free hotel stay, valued at 40,000 points or less, which could be worth more than the annual fee. Booking the Intercontinental room in New York City's Times Square would cost you $242 if you stayed on March 4th to the 5th in 2022. But using the hotel credit you get with the IHG card, you would get it fully covered. All you have to do is pay the $89 annual fee. And I believe paying $89 instead of $242 is pretty great. Plus, also the IHG card also covers the cost of TSA PreCheck or Global Entry. You also get the 4th night for free for any stays over 4 nights, and get Platinum Elite status at IHG hotels. The point earnings on this card is 10 times points per dollar spent at IHG hotels and resorts, and being a status member with this card and being a reward member can earn up to 25 times points per dollar spent at IHG hotels and resorts. and 2 times points per dollar spent on gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants, and 1 point on everything else. These aren't the best multipliers, especially when you consider how worthless the IHG points are, but if you want an all-in-one card, this isn't a bad option, especially with it covering TSA PreCheck or global entry and giving you a free hotel stay credit. That could be worth more than the annual fee you are paying for this card. But as of right now, this card is restricted to the Chase 524 rule, which means if you successfully open more than 5 accounts in the last 2 years, you most likely will not be approved for this card. The fourth card I would recommend is the Chase Sapphire Reserve. The reason why I like this card is because it acts as an all-in-one travel credit card. The annual fee is high, which is $550, but with the travel credit of $300, which is easy to use, for example, airplane tickets, metro passes, and hotels, the effective cost of this credit card is $250. It's still pretty high, however, every time you travel, you'll have access to priority pass lounges, or even priority pass restaurants. You can go in for free and cover up to 2 guests. So this benefit could have a value of $45 each time you travel. So if you travel 6 times with 2 other people, that could be worth a cost of $270, thereby easily covering the effective annual fee. You'll also get TSA PreCheck or global entry covered. So there are a lot of credits that could make this credit card worth it for you. If you want a full in-depth detailed review of the Chase Sapphire Reserve, check out the video I did comparing the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Chase Sapphire Preferred video. And the reason I call this credit card an all-in-one is because the point categories are more diverse. Any type of travel spend and food spend will get you 3 times back with this card, and anything else you'll get 1 point per dollar. It doesn't look like much, but a lot of travel credit cards only have multipliers in certain categories like specific hotels or airlines. But the Chase Sapphire Reserve lets you earn extra points on any type of travel. Plus, it's not a bad dining card to have. But as of right now, this card is restricted to the Chase 524 rule, which means if you successfully open more than 5 accounts in the last 2 years, you will most likely not be approved for this card. Also, this card is a Visa Infinity card, so the minimum credit limit on this card is $10,000. So make sure you have a good chance of approval before you apply for this credit card. And the most premium credit card I would recommend for TSA PreCheck and global entry would be the American Express Platinum card. I will warn you, the annual fee for this card is high at $695. But in my opinion, I believe it's well worth the cost. With this card, you'll get a $200 credit to use at the fine hotels and resorts, or the hotel collection programs, a $240 entertainment credit, Walmart Plus membership, Priority Pass lounge access, plus American Express lounge access, which is some of the nicest airport lounges you can stay at, a $200 Uber credit, a $200 airline fee credit, $300 at Equinox, $100 Saks Fifth Avenue credit, and a Clear membership. American Express believes these benefits are worth $1,500, but in my opinion, with just the credits alone, I more realistically believe the credits on the American Express Platinum card is actually worth about $800, with the hotel credit, entertainment credit, Uber credit, airline credit, and Saks Fifth Avenue credit. More in-depth review coming soon. But for the sake of this video, the American Express Platinum card is my highly recommended TSA PreCheck and global entry credit card because of the credits they give you, the airport lounge access, including the ones provided by American Express being really nice, and you'll also get 5 times points per dollar spend on airline flights booked directly with the airlines, like Delta, United, and American. Plus, you'll get a bunch of statuses at rental cars and hotel chains. It also helps American Express has one of the best customer services in the credit card industry. But the biggest reason I recommend the American Express Platinum card is because you can get multiple TSA PreCheck and global entry credits reimbursed. So there are 2 options if you want to add someone else to your American Express Platinum card. You can tack on another American Express Platinum authorized user for $175, or you can tack on American Express Platinum Gold authorized user, which costs nothing. However, the American Express Platinum Gold card still has a TSA PreCheck and global entry reimbursement credit. I've used this before to cover my mom's TSA PreCheck application, and to my knowledge, you can add up to 99 authorized American Express Platinum Gold cards. So basically, you can cover everyone in your family and maybe even some of the neighbors for free if you wanted to. So I personally highly recommend the American Express Platinum card if you can afford the annual fee. If not, the other options are definitely not bad options. They get the job done of covering the TSA PreCheck and global entry fee, and comes with extra credits that I believe makes each card worth considering. A runner-up I I would recommend is the Capital One Venture X card. It's not a bad card, but in my opinion, the multipliers don't really move the needle for me. However, it is a cheaper premium travel credit card compared to the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the American Express Platinum card. If you want more details, check out my review of the Capital One Venture X card. Just remember, these TSA PreCheck or global entry reimbursements only cover one or the other, not both. Also, you can't just pay the difference later on and upgrade your TSA PreCheck membership to a global entry. You have to put in a separate application and be charged separately. And to use the TSA PreCheck or global entry reimbursement on these credit cards, all you have to do is put the charges associated with the fees of TSA PreCheck or global entry and charge them to these cards, or whichever card you choose that has a TSA PreCheck or global entry reimbursement. So basically, for TSA PreCheck, when they ask for payment at the enrollment center, give them the credit card with the reimbursement credit to swipe. And for global entry, the charges will be needed after you file your online application. There'll be a page that will ask for your payment information. You don't need to bring the credit card to the global entry interview. And you should see a refund in a couple of days that is equivalent to the TSA PreCheck or global entry charge, even if you are denied for TSA PreCheck or global entry, thereby making TSA PreCheck or global entry free. I know TSA PreCheck and global entry can be confusing, so if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer your question the best that I can. But yeah, that was basically my experience with global entry and TSA PreCheck. Subscribe if this video helped you out, and I'll see you later.